Guys?
Okay, so we'll call the Board of Assessors meeting to order at, what time is it?
6:12.
6:12, sorry, I'm late upstairs. And we are being taped by the West Bridgewater Community TV. Mr. Donahue, what do you got, kid?
Under my assessor's report, Mr. Chairman, couple of things. Attorney Robert Gaines is scheduled to meet with you on October 16th at 6:15 p.m.
On both those properties,
Those
right?
two properties.
Yeah, okay. I'll be ready for him.
I mentioned this before, the Massachusetts Association of Assessing Officers annual clerks meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, October 16th at the Venus de Milo. The two clerical staff members will attend. The topic this year is chapter land, which is timely for them because this is really their first time going to our
It's a good topic for him.
Plymouth County Assessors Association will be conducting a chapter land tour on Wednesday, October 3rd at Carter Town Hall. The Massachusetts Association of Assessing Officers Fall Conference is October 30th at the Public House in Sturbridge, Massachusetts. A discussion regarding recommended MAAO bylaw changes, a legislative update of the 2019-2020 legislative session, a presentation regarding the economy and demographics as they relate to commercial real estate, as well as a discussion on office, apartment, retail, and industrial property types, and a review of current and historical trends, including a 5-year lookout for all of those topics, and the latest from the Division of Local Services, and a panel discussion of the latest important assessing issues. The Hampden, Hampshire Counties Assessors Association is sponsoring Course 5, Mass Appraisal Techniques, in Munson, Massachusetts, for those of you who would like to travel. On October 31st, November 1st, 14th, 15th, and 22nd, the Barnstable County Assessors Association is sponsoring Course 6, Valuation Administration, in Falmouth on November 7, 8, 14, 15, and 16. The Plymouth County Assessors Association tour of the Registry of Deeds is scheduled for Thursday, November 14th at the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds. The Plymouth County Assessors Association is seeking members to serve, and they corrected this since I prepared my report. They're looking for, I think, one vice president and a treasurer.
On the Plymouth County
Plymouth
Assessors?
County Assessors.
They don't have that? They used to have a good turnout, yeah.
Yeah, they have a good organization, but
Yeah,
people want to move on.
yeah.
The deadline for submitting your name is November 5th. I put a copy of that in your packet. The fiscal year 2020 classification hearing with the Board of Selectmen is scheduled for November 20th at 7 p.m. in the Selectmen's meeting room. And the Plymouth County Assessors Association annual meeting will be Thursday, December 5th at the Rockland Golf Course.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Under new business and old business, there are 3 policy reviews. There's the correction of the rollover time. And I sent a copy of the small business list to you, Mr. Chairman, because that's what the statute requires.
Yeah,
And
I went for the commercial exemption, and I don't know, I'm not sure how long, it's been a while now. I met with the Board of Selectmen regarding that whole, procedure with the residential and commercial exemption. And, and we are allowed to, look at that, analyze it, and adopt it. And because at the time I gave that presentation, there was only 7 communities out of 351 in the Commonwealth that adopted it. There's a lot of work involved, and you really have to have a staff to do a check and balance on it.
that's true.
So I recommended at the time, it really wasn't for our community. It involves, you have to have so many employees, be assessed at so much, and keep track of that stuff, which, is doable. But when you see the numbers on who has adopted that and the percentage, you can see that it's, a lot harder than, it appears.
Well, as you said too, it's a staffing issue.
Absolutely, yeah. And that falls on the, on the assessing staff, and with our limited staff here, they can probably be manageable, but it's something at the time I looked into and made some calls and I really think it was necessary for us.
And I made a note on the agenda because record is not a public record under Mass General Law, Chapter 151, 64A, so it won't be included in the items that are discussed for this evening
On the commercial exemption?
on the list.
Yeah.
So going back to the correction of the rollover and vacation time, I sent the board members a draft yesterday with a notation that I would probably revise it prior to today's meeting. So just as background, I spoke with the assistant town treasurer, the town treasurer, and the town administrator, although my conversation with the town administrator was very brief and inconclusive. Having said that, I'll just read the letter into the record. Honorable Board of Assessors, you have asked me to review the balance of my vacation time with the town administrator and the assistant town treasurer. It appears that there's been a misunderstanding on my part as to how unused vacation time may be rolled over, as well as an oversight regarding my personal absence record, which was actually not attached. I will get you that attachment. Please disregard my previous request to roll over unused vacation times. After reviewing my personal absence record dated 9/19/2009, as prepared by the Treasurer's Office, it appears the town has not recorded any accrual for vacation time or rollover unused time for the following fiscal years: fiscal 17, fiscal 18, fiscal 19, and fiscal 20. This omission has resulted in a record that shows an erroneous current vacation time balance of minus 12.5 days. In light of this apparent oversight, it is my opinion that there are two options available to correct my personnel absence record regarding both of these issues: accrued vacation time and rollover vacation time. Option one would be to correct the official record by the Treasurer's Office for each fiscal year not previously recorded, including fiscal 29, then rolling over 10 vacation days as of July 1st, 2019, which would equal 30 total vacation days on the books for fiscal 20. Or option number two, correction of the official record by the Treasurer's Office as of July 1st, 2019 by A, removing the negative vacation days from the official records, those days that should have been deducted from a similar beginning balance of 30 days on July 1st, 2018. B, accruing 20 vacation days to my account for fiscal year 2020. And C, recording rollover of 10 unused vacation days from fiscal year 19, when 17.5 days were used out of the 30 available, leaving a balance of 12.5 days, 10 of which are allowed to be rolled over. After speaking with the assistant town treasurer and the treasurer, it would seem the most expedient option would be option number two. Thank you for your consideration. In anticipation of approval, I've drafted a letter to the town treasurer, which I also reviewed with the town treasurer and the assistant town treasurer. And it states, "Dear Scott, we have reviewed our principal assessor's letter dated September 21st regarding his request to correct the balance of his vacation time on his personnel absence form. Mr. Donahue has informed us that he has provided you and the assistant town treasurer with draft copies of his letter, and that both you, the treasurer, and the assistant town treasurer have agreed in principle that option number two is the preferred method to correct Mr. Donahue's personnel absence form. If that is the case, then the board authorizes you to exercise option number two. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask."
Yeah, I just want to make sure, I've been going back and forth in this, just trying to do the right thing for the
I
town.
understand.
Yeah. I got I guess what you're really saying is that you do 4 weeks vacation, that's a given, and you want to do it for FY20, you want to have the 10 days rollover added on to it.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm not sure the addition comes up with that, but I have no problem with that based on this. I've been upstairs a few times with the Human Resource Officer, Linda Torres, and the Town Manager, Dave Gagny. And I got a few days back, I got a email from Dave saying, Steve, as we discussed 2 weeks ago, Section 12 of the contract and vacation of John's employment contract states that John is entitled to roll over 10 vacation days which must be used in the succeeding year. Therefore, the most amount of days that can be rolled over is 10. Any number above that would be in violation of the contract. So what you're saying for FY20, you have 4 weeks under option 2 there, and you can prove through the addition or subtraction with the person that keeps track of that in the treasurer's office that you have 10 days coming for rollover.
That's correct.
Excuse me, can I just ask what option 2 was again, because there was too many options.
You want to read that again? For the,
I just didn't
yeah,
get
read that again. Yeah.
what
Maybe
option
a little
2
slower because I had trouble too a little bit there. Yeah. So read option 2, please.
Sure. 2, correction of the official record by the Treasurer's Office as of July 1st, 2019 by A, removing the negative 12.5 vacation days from the official record, those days that should have been deducted from a similar beginning balance of 30 days on July 1st, 2018. B, correctly accruing 20 vacation days to my account for fiscal year 20. And C, recording rollover of 10 unused vacation days from fiscal year 2019, when 17.5 days were used out of the 30 available, leaving a balance of 12.5 days, 10 of which are allowed to be rolled over.
Okay.
And can I ask another question? I don't see where he's getting 30 days and then he can subtract 17 and a half, because he can't roll over anything except for this past year, which only leaves him 2.5 days, which is what he said, because he said he used 17 and a half. So you can't go back other years and take days to roll him over 10 days and then give him more days and more days.
He's been over on the numbers.
He is supposed to ask you for the days off, to roll them over. And if he didn't do it, that's his problem.
Yeah, he's entitled under the contract to have 4 weeks vacation, and according to the
Is that a year?
That's 20 days. He has 20 vacation
that's
days.
4 weeks, 20 days.
4 weeks
right?
a year, 5 days a week, so he does get 20
20
vacation days per contract year.
And in 2019, he used 17.5, and that leaves him 2.5 that he can ask to roll over. He cannot ask to roll over the year before.
Well, he's talking fiscal year, so
Right.
that's different than just regular 2019.
No,
It's a fiscal
it's
year.
from July to July. He used 17.
Right, okay, no, I'm just making sure
0.5.
you were doing it fiscally.
Yep,
but-
I did.
Okay, but my question on this is, it still doesn't say when you took your time and how you're coming up with this. You want us to just go by, you said you took the math,
I'm sorry, got to reach out, go ahead.
and, you know, you had said in your original email that you attached these absence records, which you forgot to attach, which you already acknowledged. And the only way Maureen has that information is if it's on the timesheet. And so you're saying that all of your vacation days are on the timesheets? Every one you've taken is marked on there?
To be more specific, I had a conversation with the Assistant Town Treasurer to ask her how she calculated the negative 12.5 days, or the 17.5 days. She said that she took that from the last several years and deducted them last year.
Okay, but are you saying that every time you take a vacation day, it's on the timesheet?
Absolutely, yep, absolutely.
Okay, so then the stack of timesheets that you gave me are the ones that you went through.
That's correct.
So when you did that, did you do any type of spreadsheet or tabulation?
No.
Okay, because that's what I've been asking for. I asked
went-
for that at the
I
last
went
meeting.
directly to the Assistant Town Treasurer.
But, okay, but at the previous meeting, you wanted us to just go with the 30. Now, upon further looking into it, that's not quite the right amount. So you want us to still just take what you say without having any documentation.
No, I'm not.
Well, I'd like to see the dates that you actually took. I don't think that's an unreasonable request. I want to do the right thing, and I want to give you whatever you're owed.
I'm going from the official document presented to me from the treasurer's office.
Okay, which you haven't presented to us.
I can get that, it's in the office, I just didn't bring it. I can get it. You want to get it?
But you're gonna tell me that
Yes, get
every
it.
vacation, can I may I finish my sentence,
Sure.
please? Thank you. But what I'm saying is, I asked you at the last meeting for those dates. For every date that you took. Because,
Wait a sentence. Sorry.
yeah, we can finish it when you come back.
No, I.
No,
want you
by
to
all
finish. I
means,
thought
we'll
you
finish
finished.
it, no, we'll finish it when you come back with
I
that.
have a copy if you'd like to look at it, Paula.
No, John will get it, that's okay, because then they'll have a copy too,
Excuse me.
so we all have it. But thank you, though.
Can I ask a question?
That's up to the chairman.
No, may I ask a question?
Not right now, please.
Do any of you understand what,
I feel like we should be playing Jeopardy music in the background.
That was absolutely right.
the ridiculous, really?
The paper right here. Want to see it? Yes.
It's ridiculous.
I don't know how we went from
Right.
negative 12 to plus 10.
It should have been
This
just.
doesn't say anything about negative 12. Okay.
Well, we now know we can,
Question for me,
we now know
how many
we can,
vacation days did he take in 20 years?
Before
How many
we
was
spent
he?
Doesn't matter.
That's the breakdown, exactly.
And how many came down when we
We can't go back that far.
Well, no.
Why is he allowed to be the one to
Well,
retrieve
arguably go back into fiscal year 2018.
Oh, right, that's what I'm saying.
No, we're just.
I'm sorry?
we should put something, John.
You can only go to
Take a look at it.
End of story.
So-
Yes,
No,
we're
on camera, you're
Okay, I mean, I just would like to see.
He's got it right, I don't know why, he's got it right there. I want you to look at it, be satisfied.
You can only go back into
I'm not.
I understand that.
That's
We're gonna,
I thought we were in
we'll look at it, see what you want to do, and then we're gonna move on.
reality.
It reads the option two, there's a whole thing about a correction, and I don't know what that is.
The correction from.
I wanna know the whistle.
Right.
Yeah, you can.
Just doesn't, how did we determine that that was something? that
Oh, no, he
we-
left the phone.
Right.
Lady, huh? But you delete that though, right?
No, it's right here. It's a public record. So whatever you have to say about the mail Connell, just say. I'm just trying to let you guys know this. You didn't.
I feel like a best box, someone behind your back.
You didn't use much vacation because of your
Require calculus, I don't, you know.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're gonna count that compound still.
Really?
It's on there, right?
Doesn't matter. Before you calculate it, but you're.
Yeah, if
It's on
lose
the
it,
sheet,
then
it's
lose
on
it.
there.
It might be on the other side.
So you use
The comp time that he wasn't supposed to get to begin with?
The 183.5 hours, you know, listed down.
Feel good?
Yeah, I know, it's sick.
It feels great, and still some days it bothers me a little bit
It's not our
inside,
responsibility.
but most of
We
the
just
time,
hired
pretty good.
Stairs, hours used of comp time.
Was
Just to find out he's never
Yeah,
entitled
but
to
I
comp
have
time.
a long, so.
Like, I don't know why that doesn't make any real sense. It talks to himself.
Yeah.
Really?
It makes much
Somebody
sense.
can contact me.
Oh, it's got broken
No,
down.
it's
Just
well, the whole town's gonna know on
It's
this video, but that's okay, I'm an open book.
Assist.
Yeah, but not if I volunteer
There is
information.
one,
So
solar
it was
procedure,
a
so
cyst.
she got bit by
Then,
something at the cemetery.
It was
Be
a
aware of
scar
those,
tissue
you know,
rather that grew
5
in
years
the
later,
cyst.
she's all set.
He didn't want to turn his chair.
We walk our dogs, go through it.
That's
Just it
because he
kind of like all clustered together.
Yeah.
Oh my God, look at that consideration. Once again, the whole
Yeah.
town is here.
Yeah, I like that a butter
You think you don't want
thing, that whole thing, I was like, that's from.
When you don't pay me.
Yes.
I love
She's
you.
scrapping around the house and chairs and great red.
Oh, you don't have to type it, you just have to alter it, it's just a document.
And my wife had, we know family, my wife had him as a student, and he's taking that junior high, so we know, he's good to us, and he couldn't figure it out. But the prednisone definitely pushed it, she's ready to eat this thing, makes me wicked.
Unbelievable. Now you hear China just come up with butter.
I would never take away something.
China
Yeah.
just made blood. They say it's better than the blood that's in your body.
Yeah.
It says it produces white blood cells plus platelets and everything.
I don't wanna be the test patient.
If you ever need it, there you go.
I guess if it was life or death, absolutely, but.
Is there anything you're gonna say?
So it's just this, right, I was just looking at it, you can take it
No,
first.
yeah.
No, that's fine, cause
You got
I
it?
The amount that he approved, you approved.
I take longer, cause I read
It was
everything.
183.5
It's still,
from July to July.
you probably just moved it down there. It's his in-house house, it's at the life care. She's in the hospital. Different times, you
I'm
know.
only here to learn.
So they went to this, and she had another stroke with big one woman's, and she had another stroke with a big woman's again.
She's
one of the best hospitals in the world. Huh?
Especially
Well, she smoked, smoking.
popularity is so why
From this, I'll pull out.
Hereditary
My father died of a heart attack at 58. It was just
Oh, I
She was just saying, how much of a snack is that peppermint?
I don't know if that will land.
Smoking.
Did you watch that? You don't smoke. Did you ever watch that?
Years ago, I thought it was tough. She was so sick, like 10 years old.
I work full time. I don't get home like before. You have time to rebuild my brain cells. Oh, you have to sign it.
Yes.
Have a beer together. I just want to sit and watch. Listen. That's topic first. I know. That
Want
was
me to
for
do what?
you.
Thursday morning at 10. Seriously, I wouldn't want to pound in the office closed for a meeting, you know? What? They can do what they want.
Except the young boys were there.
The young boys, this one can keep up. He's never done it before.
He said some pace.
Okay, she said
They just don't try to keep up with that.
Did you? Before I came along?
Get it over with.
Was that 5? When I first started? Back in, I started in 2005.
Everything's good. What are they doing about that, thing they approved as a plow, and then they said you couldn't do it?
Plow?
Tell them to
Pearl
table
Road?
next meeting.
So Pearl Road, like their deed is prepared along with the agreements that we will be receiving in the meeting tonight.
Why is the town, why would you ever want something on the road, here?
So, should I go see what's taken so long? In the grand scheme of things, when people come to you and they want you to accept their road, if it's
I don't
not
think he's
going
going
to
anywhere
negatively
private.
impact the town.
But how long has it been?
Define private, you can get videotaped anywhere anybody wants to
No.
videotape it in town hall.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you've heard.
Didn't they originally develop it,
They
you know,
just
something
videotape
happened
you and your
and then
kids.
It's only 10 years, I mean, it's 10 years away from getting paved again. That's a liability too.
Something happened with the way, that was private right away, not that accepted.
Well, the guy who owns it now should have, close handles done, should have drainage cameras, you know, they can all
With the 3
drainage.
cameras. Oh my
I
god.
mean, in this instance, they came forward, they wanted it to be accepted, they have that right to ask.
Mhm.
Done it in the past. They wrote it at one time. They put private ways. Then another meeting, a few years later, they said, do it with the private way, so the town would pick them up. Then they did the industrial park. We called it industrial park, just an emergency for purpose only. We don't own the industrial park, whoever owns it.
I don't want it.
Just leave that like.
She wants to look at it. Oh,
Yeah,
it's
I
good.
remember that.
Was it under?
Is this it now? Is this it?
So I don't
It verifies what I say in my letter.
Yeah.
That there were
I need
17,
to produce that, that's good.
that there were 17 and a half days taken, which leaves 12 and a half, which I lose 2 and a half, which I roll over 10. That's simple. That's the record from the treasurer's office. That's what the letter says. That's the backup for the letter.
That's from the
Treasurer's
Treasurer's
office.
office,
I
okay.
just confirmed that with the treasurer
Okay,
before I came back here.
okay.
We almost done, so we can get this thing done.
Yep,
So where did she get this information from?
From the timesheets that the Board of Assessors signed.
All right, I'm just asking, I
I'm
don't
just
want to
telling
be
you.
hostile.
Yeah.
I'm not being hostile, I'm
Just-
telling you, asking
so-
for a second
yeah.
answer.
So you just got this from the treasurer's office?
I
and
confirmed
okay,
this
so-
from the treasurer. I got this from the treasurer's
Okay.
office on September 19th.
Okay.
So all rollovers from FY 19, correct?
Correct.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion based on the information given to us that, from the treasurer collector's office and from your contract which states you're due, was it,
20 days.
how do they say, days or 20 days, okay. That we accept the paperwork given that for a principal assessor for FY 20, he's entitled to, 4 weeks, 20 days, plus 10 days carryover.
So we're done with discussion?
We're done with discussion.
Second. So you,
All those in favor? Aye. Done.
okay.
Thank you.
So exactly how many days did he get? Another 30
You keep
freaking
silence
days?
in this
What's that?
meeting, keep
Yeah.
silence in the meeting.
Yeah.
Let her tell you what
We
to
just,
do.
Hey, we're the public, we can say what we want.
the motion stated that John's entitled to FY 20, his 4 weeks vacation due from the contract, and based on the treasurer collectors or treasurer's numbers, he's entitled to start the FY 20,
Even though you're bringing them from a previous year.
and start the FY 20, right, that's what a rollover
Against
is.
So you just
Yeah.
voted the contract.
Yeah, okay.
I
So
just
you're
want,
rolling over 2.5 days.
Deb, can I just please for a minute? So I just want on record that I object to this, because I don't
Okay.
believe that everything has been completely verified and documented. Because during a lot of John's vacation time, he's working from home without board approval. There's been nothing in the minutes, nothing
Okay.
authorizing that. So how is that not counted as vacation time when it's
Yeah.
not been board approved?
Alls I know is, right, I'm not, I can't, alls I can do is take the directive and the
Maybe you need to go in the
printout from the
office and look at
treasurer
the
collector's
paperwork.
office. That's all I'm gonna do. If you wanna object, that's fine. Daniel,
I
put that in
object
minutes.
too.
Okay, we have members of the public that wanna object, that's fine.
But I
We
think
all
we're doing.
object
But,
because you're stealing from the
I bet-
Deb,
town.
please,
It's stealing.
Deb,
Okay,
please.
When you're not entitled, you're stealing.
But
But I'm
What-
entitled, so I guess that's not.
You're not entitled to comp time, but you used
You're not gonna have
183 hours
silence
of
in this
it.
meeting. I'm
Little
gonna have
order,
police
Mr.
here, 'cause
Chairman.
it's
Calm
not
down.
gonna
Let me out. Calm down. We're so scared of you.
Little ridiculous.
You
I
just
don't
threaten
believe we're
people.
doing the
Not
right
ridiculous, you
thing.
just voted
We-
yesterday.
It's ridiculous.
I appreciate your thought in that
You
matter.
don't even discuss it, you just vote.
Deb, Steve and I are talking, please let us
I
finish.
appreciate your thought in this matter and your input, that's good. We've been on this for a few weeks now. I've been upstairs to the human resource and Dave Gagnon a couple times with his emails back and forth. Mr. Donahue has been over to the so-called, record keeper of the town to ascertain that he has the minus 12 and a half, which is really 10 days, to carry over. So what you're trying to say is that, on November 3rd, 2 years ago, did he take a day or was he screwing off? I don't know. I don't know about that. I can't read the
You're
past.
supposed to know, you're the
Also-
boss.
All I can say is, all I can go on is the attendance records and, the sick time, vacation time, whatever the town has for any employee. So in this case, we've asked for John's because of this matter. To me, he's satisfied what the contract says, what I talked to people, the town manager and the resource officer, and we've done here at this meeting for the third time. I'm
You can only roll
satisfied.
over what you
We-
have to
We've made a
roll over.
motion and it's been accepted.
I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that, as an example, when, we'll say John's on vacation for 2 weeks, that would then be 10 days. But
Right.
on the timesheets, it's not recording 10 days of vacation. It's saying that they're still working. But there's nothing in our minutes that we've taken a vote, that we've approved any time to work out of the office. So how can that be not considered a vacation day if it's during a vacation week? There's no documentation of that, so I have
That was the
difficulty
previous
with
years
that.
and it has nothing to do with the 10 days. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry,
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. No.
Sorry.
but there's,
All I have is this right here in
I
front of me, Paula.
understand that, but
I'd
didn't
like,
even read it.
I'd like to move on here because there's a lot of stuff to get to.
I understand that, and you're right, we do have a number of things, but I don't believe what we did was right.
Okay.
So I just want it on record that,
I told them,
Okay.
definitely.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, may I
I'm
ask
gonna
a
move on to
question?
the
Sure.
next one.
I just didn't understand the math. So, did you say he has 20, he was allowed 20 days of vacation time in 2019?
FYI.
In
F-
fiscal year 2019?
FY 20,
Okay.
FY 20, He has, the contract says he has 4 weeks vacation,
Okay.
20 days. And we've just, through the record keeping, that we've allowed him to carry over 10 days from the previous FY19.
So he only
That's
took 10
what-
days then?
But that's where I'm trying to do the
The
math.
rollover only allows 10 days.
Right.
So he only took 10 days
Time out,
vacation.
right.
Okay,
And I appreciate your question,
but the
Madam
math was,
Selectman.
I think the math was wrong, that's what I was trying to
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
So, what I heard you say was he was entitled to 20 vacation days in fiscal year 2019, and 17 and a half were used?
Yes.
Okay, so if 17 and a half were
No.
used,
You want to explain the math again? No, I really, I appreciate that. I just want to move on.
but I'm
You know?
just saying the
wrong?
math
You
was
could ask a
wrong.
No,
question.
because the 17 and a half,
Ask a question.
it was 17 and a half, they were showing negative days on the records over there. So it was minus 12 and a half that weren't used, John.
Mr. Chairman, as I said,
is 12 and a
You
half.
want to explain the math once more? Because I do want to move on.
Mr. Chairman, as I said in the letter,
John, if we could just focus on fiscal year 2019, how many
Yeah.
days did you use during fiscal year
I heard the
2019?
question.
Okay.
As I said in the letter, there were two options. Two options.
No, I
It's not
understand the
the answer to the
option.
question.
May I finish, please?
I understand the
How many
option.
days did
How
you
many days did you
take
take
in fiscal year
2019?
2019? It's a simple question.
17 and a
And
half.
I'm trying to give a simple answer,
Out of
but
the
I keep
20 you
getting
have.
interrupted. As
Actually,
I
you're using a
said,
method called derailing.
option one,
Let John answer the question.
option one would be to correct the official record of the treasurer's office for each fiscal year, not previously recorded, which would have been fiscal 17,
You can't go back
You
that
can't go
far.
back that
fiscal
far.
18,
So we're not doing
fiscal
option 1 anymore, we're on
19.
option 2.
and fiscal 20. Then, rolling over 10 vacation days
Can't roll
as
it over.
of the previous fiscal year. Or option number 2 was to simply negate the 12 and a half vacation days from the official record, because those days should have been deducted from a similar beginning balance of 30 days on July 1st, 2018. And then correctly accruing
So
20
he's
vacation
asking
days
for
to my
back days and
account
back days.
for the fiscal year 2020, and recording rollover of 10 unused days from the fiscal year 2019, when 17.5 days were used out of 30 available,
But there wasn't
You didn't
that
have 30 available because you didn't
So-
roll them
leaving a
over.
balance of 12.5 days,
He didn't
10
roll them over
of
in
which will
18.
be allowed to roll over.
So,
As I stated in my other letter,
so Mr.
I
Chairman,
presented this letter to the treasurer and the assistant town treasurer, and I asked for their input. Both of them stated option 2 would be their preferred method of
Doesn't make it right.
correcting an
You only have an option
incorrect
between 2.
record.
so Mr.
So
Chairman,
you have that attendance or whatever you want to call authority, that
so
you're
Mr.
allowed to roll over the 10 days for FY20.
And I showed a copy of
He's
this
trying to roll over for
letter
18.
to the
He can't.
treasurer and the assistant treasurer and asked for the input on the approval letter.
Okay.
And they said, that is fine
Listen,
with us.
can we do this? Because I want to move on. We already made a motion and approved it. Here's what I want to do. I want you, if you can, obviously you can, post those letters, the applicable ones, online, so people can look at them.
Mr. Chairman, could I just finish that math? Okay, so all I was trying to say, excuse me, please. So all I was trying to say is if we just look at fiscal year 19, 20 vacation days were allowed during that fiscal year.
Yes,
John used 17 and a half. That would leave 2 and a half.
right.
And if you granted it to be carried forward, it would be carried forward 2 and a half, not 10 days.
You're leaving out 10 days of unused roll. It would be 30 days.
And I guess from option 2.
He doesn't have 30 days.
Listen, I'm done, right? We've approved it, post those, and I see what you're saying.
Okay.
The letters say that he's allowed to use days that weren't posted right from the previous year.
Which fiscal year are you?
The treasurer collector said he could,
Previous fiscal year.
roll over
That's not
10
the
days
contract.
from unused days, so.
Current.
You can't roll
But I-
over from
Okay,
2000.
There's
Yes,
they
you
can
can.
roll over 2018
Okay.
vacation days to 2019.
You cannot
Let's
do
move
that.
on. Next business, please. Thank
It
you.
was not.
So there
So
were,
just make sure you
Get
post
the
that stuff so the
kickbacks,
public can
Phil.
look at that, please.
yeah, happy to.
Okay.
I don't
So
believe the
three
vote was
policies.
finished.
It's only two that have to vote because the other one doesn't count.
I know that feeling.
So I,
So now we're wasting more money of ours.
Listen, please, we want to run the meeting. If you keep, talking out of turn, right?
Do what you
That's
want, I don't care, because you guys are criminals. You're all criminals.
be belligerent?
You're all criminals. You don't even let us talk. You roll over hours that you don't have to roll over.
Deb, please,
No, it's
Made-
wrong.
you-
You guys are so
you've
wrong.
made your point, please.
Yeah,
So we
well,
can go
wait
to
till
the
I
other
make the
items.
phone call.
Debbie, you leave,
No.
they won, so
Hey,
sit back
Debbie,
down.
sit down and be quiet.
They're not winners, they're a bunch of losers. That's why they take our money and give it to someone that don't deserve it.
Next.
so I had
Tell me how you really feel.
placed three policies on the agenda for the board's review. One is the placement of items on the assessor's agenda.
Yep.
The issue is placement of items on the assessor's agenda. The background is the Board of Assessors meetings are sometimes subject to public disruption, despite the chair's repeated attempts to strike a balance between public expression and public disorder. Meetings have become unruly from time to time. On occasion, the chair has had no choice but to call local authorities to restore order at Board of Assessors meetings. This policy seeks to restore decorum to meetings by establishing protocols and procedures for addressing the Board of Assessors. The policy statement reads as follows. Any member of the public may write, call, or visit the assessor's office at any time with any inquiry relating to the duties and functions of the office. 2, if a member of the public is not satisfied with the clerical staff and/or the principal assessor's response to an inquiry, any member of the public may request that topic to be placed on the agenda of the Board of Assessors for discussion. 3, any request for placement of a topic of the Board of Assessors agenda on the Board of Assessors agenda should be made in writing to the principal assessor or his designee, stating both the requested meeting date and the listing of a topic to be discussed in order to reasonably inform the public of the issue to be discussed at the meeting. That has a footnote number 1 on it, which refers to the Attorney General's Open Meeting Guide, page 7, that the lists of topics must be sufficiently specific to reasonably inform the public of the issues to be discussed at the meeting. Number 4, after such request has been submitted in accordance with item number 3 above, the principal assessor or his designee shall present it to the chairman of the Board of Assessors for appropriate action. I guess that probably speaks for itself.
Yep. On the, not in that one, that's fine. On the one regarding, you want to do these separate
You want to
or?
read all 3 of them?
No. Oh,
No,
well,
we
Ken,
should
yeah.
I'll do them all separately because I have comments
Well, yeah,
about that
we'll
one.
do them separately, yeah. On that one there,
Is there a motion to adopt or?
yeah, okay. Right, I'll make a motion to adopt the Board of Assessors policy regarding what John just read into the record. I'll make a motion to adopt that. One thing, John, was, I'm sorry, hold on a second. This was some of the stuff that I remember when I came on board back in 2005, was kicking around back then. I was wondering why we ever got away from that.
This never came up again.
And so we're just kind of renewing stuff we had in place, this and some other stuff here, so that's all, I want to mention that. This is nothing new, some of the words might have been changed, but we had this, I know.
Yes.
When I came, you were here before me in '05.
Yeah.
And somehow we got away, whatever, so,
I think the board took it under advisement at the time, Mr. Chairman.
yeah, I forget, it was a long time ago.
Well,
but,
this came up in 2017 because I have the original email and the
Okay,
top part wasn't the reasoning for it. I think it was more because that's when I was pushing for people being allowed to ask questions and such. But are we gonna have discussion over the
Yeah.
items on here?
no, I'm gonna make a motion on this one, if you have a particular question or something, but, I read the three sheets that he sent us, actually the four, and it's pretty straightforward.
Need a second, Mr.
I'll make a
Chairman.
motion to accept this as read, just to further, on the Board of Assessors policy.
You need a second for discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Second for discussion.
Okay.
Discussion now?
Yep.
All right, on this policy statement, the first part's fine. People should be able to go to the office anytime they want and ask questions or whatever, I agree.
They always have been, yeah.
Right, no, I agree with that, that's how it should be. But the second part, that I disagree that a resident, if they want to be on the agenda and they prefer to talk to the board for whatever reason, they should be allowed to be. And yes, I agree, they have to follow the open meeting thing about being very specific about what they'd like to discuss. At that point, they can come before the board, but they may not get the answer they want. It may be not in their best interest to come to the board before, because they may be told, well, that's something you need to talk to John, he has
Well,
the
that's
file
what-
in there.
We talked about it before, it's almost like the opposite way. If they come into the office and don't get the answer they really want from John or the clerks or whatever, then they want to make, apply to get on the agenda. So to go into the office, if it's some, some late term or something like that, that can be answered at the office or save the open meeting agenda, that's fine. But if they're not, if the taxpayer is not satisfied, most assuredly, to get onto the agenda so they can be, meet with the board.
And you're right, it can go that way.
It has to go that way.
See, I disagree. I don't see what the problem is. How many people have we had that have wanted to get on an agenda and were told no?
They were all on the agenda.
Well, do you want me to answer that truthfully?
They were all.
You want the truthful answer to that?
Of
Yeah,
course I
my
want
first 12 years here, it always went fine. They came in when they had to, or the office, there was never, no disparity about I didn't get waited on or this or that. It always went pretty smooth. We had people, not a lot, come in time to time with questions about things that they didn't get satisfied answers. Because when I first started here, I was doing something at work next, so we didn't have a principal assessor for a while. So we were busy with that. But it always worked out well. The last couple of years, it's changed where now we're getting down to the nitty gritty, and that's fine too. That's part of what we do here. But it's always worked the way it's worked before, is that they go into the office, if they're not satisfied or don't get the answer from Daniela or Tammy, then they come here in front of the board. It worked that way for my first 11 years here. It worked that way for my last 30 years in the city of Brockton, city of Newton. It can work here this way. Really, sometimes they come in, obviously with an abatement or something like that. It has to be done here.
Right, some of those things too, but sometimes a person, they want to talk to the board, they don't want to go through the office. And yeah, sometimes it's not advantageous for them to come straight to the board. But can't we see that part of the problem that we're having with some of these meetings is because we're not telling, or we're not letting people have a couple minutes to ask a question
Paula.
or to do any of this?
You're 110% wrong.
It would be different.
I'll tell you why, because I have the qualified background here, and it's never been a problem. We've always reached out to people. The first night I met Deborah here, she come up and we introduced ourselves and said she thought it was kind of a hostile meeting. I said, yeah, sometimes you get like that, but please feel free to come in and see me, Cheryl, or you, or John at the time. We stuck our hand out because that's what we do. Informal, formal, whatever. We're here because we represent the taxpayers and we try to do the best job we can. However that gets done, it gets done. Sometimes it's informal, in the corridor, out in the parking lot, in the office, or in here. But all their concerns, questions or whatever, always get done.
And that's how it should be. So why are we making it so rigid then for somebody just to get on the agenda? For the amount of people that ever actually ask.
That's because they get it taken care of in the office. If somebody wants to come in and talk to us, they can ask to get on, and that's fine. There will never be a question about an exemption or something that they want the answer from the board. Then they can come on the open meeting agenda.
Okay, but then why do they have to then, based on what you're saying, if I'm understanding.
I just keep circling the wagons here.
Right,
I made my point. Okay?
Right, but if I'm understanding what you're saying, is that we've always, anytime anyone has a question, that we always make ourselves available and we always try to help and be very user-friendly. But this policy makes us sound less user-friendly, that they have to go there.
We have to have, unfortunately, when different offices might run it different ways, we have to have, not a rigid policy, but we have to have a policy in place. But obviously, a lot of times in a lot of offices or whatever, it can, kind of not go to the direct letter of the policy. This is just here for policy's sake, but a lot of times, I've had people stop me when I'm cutting my lawn or something, want to know something. And, so that's informed. Nobody has ever not been, dissatisfied with an answer somebody gave them and didn't come here or vice versa. It always gets done.
Right, but-
This policy doesn't seem like it's like Gestapo tactics. This policy is just set in place because we have to have one set in place.
Well, I don't see, you didn't have one before I got on the board, but how many people have actually been told that they want to address the board and can't?
They want to address the board and they can't.
And
I don't
they're
know.
not allowed to be
I
put
don't
on
know.
the agenda.
I'm only elected official. I'm not here full-time. I don't know those stats. All I know is when they come. All I know is when they come in here, we talk to them. At the office, when I'm there, I've talked to many people.
Right,
John.
I know you do.
So,
We've really never
and
had
they
any-
actually, with my background, I'm glad to talk to them. I could give them an answer in a late term and make, sometimes that stuff gets complicated.
But I'm gonna tell you something, Paul, we've never had anybody come in and ask questions really, other than their questions for their abatements when they wanted to come.
Or
before the
exemptions,
board.
but once in a while, you're right, somebody
I
might,
mean,
but they
we've
don't
never
get
had
answered, well, you might not have to go there in front of the board, let me help you if I can, and I've done that, we've all done that. So, let's move on, okay?
Right, but I still don't see why we have to be, if somebody really wants to come in and just be on the agenda,
Okay,
I don't see what the problem is, because I got on the board in 17, because I'm only aware of a couple people. I was told no at one point before I got on the board. I think Denise was also told no at one point, and Deborah Colley might have been told no at one point, but then ended up probably being on later. So it doesn't seem like we have a lot of people that ever asked, which is why I don't think
okay.
this policy is necessary.
I've never
Yeah.
heard of that.
To me, the
Never.
policy, it is, people, I hear what you're saying, but people, when they have, like, for the 14th time, when they have a question, whether it's here or there, they get, hopefully a satisfactory answer and service. Sometimes they get the answer they don't want to hear.
Right,
You know?
but I'm not saying that they're not getting service.
You know?
I'm just saying, if they want to come to the board for whatever their reasons are,
Okay,
they should be able to, versus having to talk to there and then going and that whole thing.
and you have, you're a board member, and you have your opinion on it, that's fine.
And one more thing, Steve, if they were denied not to go on the agenda, I would assume that they were already given their answer, and it wasn't time again to come in and talk about it, that they already got their answer.
I don't know about that.
On that,
I'm just assuming
but
that.
on,
Not that, you know what
may
they
I
say
say
about
just one
assuming
thing,
that?
please? But based on what
Yeah,
Cheryl's
that's
saying,
really
you're
messed up.
saying, but if the person's, like you said, if a person's not satisfied, they can come to the board. Cheryl's saying that, no, they got their answer, that's
Cheryl's not saying that.
That's how
What
I
I said
interpreted
was,
it.
well,
Cheryl didn't say that, they can come to the board
Well,
anytime.
that's what I'm trying to clarify.
All right.
what I'm thinking is if they already went into the clerk's office, they had the answer, why do they have to come back again? They already got their answer, and it was probably the right answer. They're gonna come in and we're just gonna give them the same answer.
It's very well possible, but for whatever reason, they had a
That's
waiting
what they wanna
question.
get.
So are you saying then that we shouldn't allow them to be on the agenda if they wanna come to the board? I'm just trying to understand.
I don't know why, if they go to and ask to go on the agenda, I'm sure that they're put on the agenda
Wrong.
unless the question was already asked and answered.
Okay, but let's just say.
That's what I'm saying, that's all
You know,
I'm saying, I'm
Paul
not gonna
goes-
assume this or that now because,
Okay.
you know.
All right, listen, that's fine, you have your opinion. I'm gonna make a motion that we accept these policies as John read into the record. Do I have a second? All those in favor? Aye.
Second,
I still wasn't finished.
The vote doesn't count, clearly.
But if you're going to do this policy, then it seems very open-ended. There's no cutoff time. It just says that the person has to submit their request to the assessor or his designee, but there's no time frame as to when, like, for example, John gets the request on Tuesday. John should have then some sort of some time frame that he needs to respond back to that person so they know, and just tighten it up a little bit.
That's a local policy like we're making here, and that's just, it's kind of like left like open-ended. Hopefully, if the way we have to serve the people, that it gets taken up ASAP. I don't want to keep somebody on hold on a question that can be answered at the counter or at a meeting here in 2 seconds. If it's a question about some of the stuff I deal with, sometimes I need to research it.
Right, no, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, let's just say that Paul puts in a request to be on the agenda, he's been to the office, he's not happy with the response, or he's not getting everything he needs. So he puts in a request to John on Tuesday to be on the agenda. John should then have some sort of time frame in which to respond back to him, to get back to him within 3 business days, 4 business days, something, versus just leaving it so open, is what I'm saying. That if we're gonna do the policy anyway, that it just should be tightened up a little bit. So then Paul's not sitting there waiting, going,
Get back within a week, that's not a problem.
We just
I
adopted.
just think that's a simple administrative issue.
Okay.
Obviously,
But we have
if
a lot
your,
of
if your agenda is overloaded, I'm not gonna promise to
Right.
put somebody on the agenda.
Right.
If there's nobody on your agenda, I would think I would
You would do
request
it.
you to put them on immediately.
that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that as to,
There's something on your collar, on your
But-
shirt sleeve.
what I'm saying is it should be that you have to just get back to Paul within, say, 3 days, or 4 days, whatever. So that way, Paul's not sitting there waiting, wondering what the response is. He at least knows, listen, the agenda for the next 2 meetings is really tied up, or I can do this agenda, or, you know, something like that, just so the resident's not left waiting for a response. They know that they'll have something back within X amount of days. That's all I'm asking for.
I'm sure I will act as
Right.
judiciously and quickly as possible.
I'm sure that you will, but I'm just asking for some sort of deadline. I think that's fair.
I get the point well taken.
Yep,
I just want to,
just common sense, that's all.
well, I just want to get an understanding. Did the board vote 2-1-0, just so that
2-0.
I voted.
To adopt
2
this?
for, 1 against, and no abstentions?
On what, on that
The
vote?
vote?
Yeah,
Did I hear the vote correctly? Just so
right,
that
that's why I wanna move on here.
Okay.
And to Paul's concerns, I agree that, you know, there's common sense that you wanna do, you know, based on the agendas, you know, the amount of people on it, you'll do the common sense thing and treat the taxpayer, you know, as they should be.
Like everyone else, Mr. Chairman,
Right.
I'm here to serve the public.
We've done it for the last.
All right, on the next
people,
one here,
no problems.
John, on the next one, I want to table this one. I have a clause, a part of it, on the Board of Assessors policy on vacation time away from work. I want to table that. I want to see a language change. And this one, the 2-page one, you guys have that? There's 1 through 7 on the policy statement.
I don't think I have that one.
It's got 1 through 6 on the first page and number 7 on the second.
Oh, right, yeah, I
Yeah.
got it, I'm
All right,
sorry.
on this one here, whatever you want to call it, the assessors policy on vacation time, time away from work.
Away from work, yes.
I want to table that, okay? And,
One question on that, though?
I want to table it, and we'll,
No, I understand, but just so I understand, because I thought at the last meeting, the vacation policy was supposed to be for John, and this doesn't include John.
I don't know, this is for the,
This is just for
okay,
clerical,
all
right? I
right.
thought last
Yeah,
meeting.
we're gonna table it, and we'll find out about that. I'm not gonna talk about it now until we bring it up.
Right, no, I'm just making sure I understood you at the last meeting, that that's what it was supposed to be a policy regarding John's vacation time. And this is just about clerical.
I'm, you know, I've had 4,000 other things in my mind besides John's vacation time. I got a couple big cases, I'm sitting over there working 1 million hours. I'll let you worry about that, okay? I'm just trying to get through this stuff, and, you know, I'm just trying to do the best job I can here, and I'm putting a lot of hours in, you know, and I can't come here and keep track of what we're doing here. So if you have a question on that, that's fine. When we bring it up at the next meeting, I've been apprised that we need some language changes, you know? It wasn't my idea. I want to do the best job I can here.
Right, and no, that's fine, if we need some language changes, because I do have some concern about some of the language that's in here as well.
Okay,
But my concern
So-
was it only just affects the clerical, and it doesn't
okay, so.
address John's
when
vacation
we-
time.
When we bring up, you know, the discussion on the whole thing, we'll do that in one shot, then you can bring that up, and we'll do it next meeting. So do I need a motion to table this, or
So,
just
you're
table
the
it?
chairman, you can table it.
Okay,
But will there be a policy, though? Because if we do it all at once, I'm assuming then you'd want to just vote on everything at one time.
correct. The next, on the third sheet here, on the,
Access to computers in the
yeah,
office.
this concerns me, all right, because we have a problem with the previous assessor that, you know, had a little problem with that. This policy began to use of the office equipment, the computers and such. You want to read that, John?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The issue is access to computers in the office. The background is that in 2006, a member of the Board of Assessors allegedly made alterations to data in the assessor's property record card information database. regardless of whether or not the allegation was true. As a consequence, the Board of Assessors at that time voted to deny access to the assessor's records and to the assessor's office. This policy merely restates the previous 2006 policy. Correct that, it says 2016.
Yeah.
The policy statement states that no elected member of the Board of Assessors is allowed to access any official records maintained within the control of the Board of Assessors office, including official electronic records maintained by the Board of Assessors computers, computer storage devices, without the permission of the principal assessor and the chairman of the Board of Assessors. No elected member of the Board of Assessors is allowed to access or occupy the Board of Assessors office or to use Board of Assessors resources without permission of the principal assessor and the chairman of the Board of Assessors.
This is just a repeat of the 2006 policy that I
A
did.
restate.
Yeah, I've seen that.
When was there a vote done on that? 'Cause
Back in 2006, I think it was, I don't remember.
I'd like to know exactly when that was, because
I
this
can't
is,
tell you
this is
because
news
it
to
was
me.
done
Well,
with,
yeah.
it's
I,
not,
there
no,
was something in place, but I'm gonna make a motion right now.
yes, to accept that.
To accept this policy, you know, it's no big deal. If you wanna use it, you get permission, if you wanna use some of the equipment in there. But where we had that problem, which I didn't find out for when I first got in here, and I will tell you, a person in Avon got fired for doing that, a full-time person, for that exact, that's why it concerned me that this was, you know, all these things are important, but in this one here's a given, you know, nobody should be in there, that's not supposed to be in there, but sometimes that can happen, you know, even town hall people, whatever, you know, look something up real quick, and I can see a problem with that, so I definitely want to make a motion to accept this, or, I know we had it in 06, it kind of drifted away, so, you know, to re-accept it, or whatever the word is gonna be, about the office, use of the office computers.
Cheryl, did you make a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No, are we having discussion?
It's already a policy in effect.
Well, you can't prove that to me. You prove that to me and that's one thing. You're
Okay,
saying that
but-
it is, but I'd like to
okay.
have discussion.
So let's say
on it.
this, let's say it's not a previous policy, but now it is.
Then I'd like to have discussion on it.
It was a policy.
Yeah, I can't recall when that was, or maybe it was in place when I got here, you know?
You weren't here.
Yeah, right, it was before that. but-
Yeah, you weren't here.
What else you got?
So we're not allowing discussion on this?
Discussion.
It's pretty straightforward.
I understand that, but I disagree with it. We were elected by the town. So first of all, none of us have keys for that office, so none of us can get in there when no one's here. But I'm sorry, we were all elected by the residents. I can guarantee you, there's no other board that has this type of policy. If we want to look up some type of information or access anything, I need John's permission and your permission to do
No,
it?
no.
No, that's what it says. I need the
Does it say and?
assessor's permission and the chairman of the board. That is ridiculous. We have seniors that come in for the work off, which is a great program, but they have access.
Yeah, but
When
then-
John is not here and he's working at home, his wife is coming and taking stuff.
From the
So
office.
we have, and you're gonna say that
I'm so-
elected board members are
I
not,
beg to differ with the senior work-off people, right? They're coming in to work for the office.
yep. And if any one of
Just
us
like
wants
the
to go in
Board of
and
Assessor
learn
member.
how things work, or look up information, or
You shouldn't be on the
understand.
computer and look up information like
Well, we
that.
already had this problem, Paula, and it was.
And I'm not saying that, you know,
We're not gonna do it again.
you don't know what you're doing and such, but I've known two problems, so that's why we're adopting this policy.
I understand what
I
you're saying.
apologize, I can change that language, it shouldn't be and, if John's there, that's fine, you know, just,
Right.
you know, you can change that.
My only concern, Mr. Chairman, is you're elected officials. I don't want to say no to you. I want you to say, yes, it's okay, John. That's why I stated it the way I stated
Yeah,
it.
but you know, I mean, if Paula wants to come in and use it, yeah, sure, but you know, and you can't get a hold of me, so that's kind of, you know, how about you want to leave that, but you know, it's just really, as long as, you know, whoever, anybody, and the senior workout people come in, they're working for the office, you know, look
Right.
up stuff,
They
that's
only
expected.
answer the phones, really.
I understand that, and no, they do have stuff in the office, they help the
Okay.
girls. But I just completely disagree with this, because if the
Okay.
whole problem is the computer, everybody should have their own login IDs. When you're not on your computer, you log out of it, that's just common sense.
It'd be, you know, nothing for nothing, to me, right, you know, and you're free to have your own opinion on these things, it would maybe have more integrity if we somehow maybe agreed on something that we do here. all three things you.
No, I didn't
I mean,
disagree on everything.
Don't you think this policy is good for the good of the office? And you're disagreeing on this?
I do disagree on this
And
because
I'm
it's
basing that on past practice. Not you, but 15 years ago, and what I found, I know the person that happened over in Avon, right? And they were a full-time employee. It got DQ'd. But, so, I mean, we're just protecting ourselves, so if it happened, we have a policy in place.
You can hit the wrong buttons and everything else, and that's
I
it.
understand what you're
That's it.
saying, but I disagree with this. It just seems, so then I wanna go in and I wanna do some research on an ATV case, cause I don't understand something, and I'm just using that as an example. I'm gonna go in and John's gonna tell me no.
Well, let's talk about that. Exactly, the assessor now, what research would you do on the computer for an ATV case? Please, give me the detailed information as what you could do, as opposed to not, going, either talking to somebody about it. What information on the computer for an ATV case would you?
I don't know what's on there because nobody ever wants to show me how things work in the office. But this is just what I'm saying.
Okay, all right.
I disagree with, but this is basically all records that are in the office. Because it says including official electronic materials. It doesn't say only, this is everything. So this is saying that we as board members elected by the residents have to get his permission and your permission.
That's exactly
To look
what we
up
are,
anything.
board members. We're not clerical staff or
That's right.
office staff.
But if we
are
want-
board members.
Yes, I understand that, but sometimes board members
It's not
would
our
like.
John, can you change that to make it, and or, I mean, you shouldn't have to reach out to me if she wants to use it.
Make an amendment to the motion.
I'll make an amendment to the motion to put down
And or.
the principal or the chairman. Because on any given day, I'm up in Methuen, so you wouldn't get a hold of me.
All right, you could be anywhere, I understand
So
that.
I don't want, you're right, I don't want that, if he's not in, you wanna use it, you can't get a hold of me, I don't want you deprived of it, you just don't use it, but, unless you advance notice or something, but that's the way it's gonna be. I think this is good, only not because of you, but because of past practice.
That's right.
Right, somebody, and
We're
that was.
gonna have this in place.
I second.
Just for parliamentary procedure, you should rescind your original vote,
Okay,
make a motion to amend the policy to
Okay.
include the and/or language,
okay,
and then vote on it again.
all right,
Rescind the original.
I'll make a motion to rescind the original 2-1 vote on the original policy. And I'd like to make in order to amend that motion to make on the directive of answering to the principal assessor and chairman of the board to make that and/or. So,
You need the second.
right, so the amendment will be and/or.
Second.
Second, all's in favor?
That's fine.
That's fine,
That's
and
good.
rescind it.
Yeah, that was a good idea.
Right,
Yeah.
which, okay, and that's fine, but I still don't agree with having this.
Okay, put it on the record that Paula doesn't agree with this policy, that's fine.
It just makes it seem like we're hiding something that the board members can't
See,
get information.
it's to you, right? I've been doing this for a million years, and we're not hiding nothing, Paula. We're just saying that sometimes a previous assessor in this in this hall here have a problem with that, and we don't want that to happen again, so it's protecting us,
But that goes back to everybody has their own login information, because that when I had candidates night, that was addressed. Somebody asked a question to that particular person,
Okay,
and he addressed it. It was an honest mistake, okay.
fine, yeah.
I accept that.
It probably was, but, it was an honest mistake, but,
It's gonna cause a lot.
yeah. So, I don't know, I wasn't here privy to that, but all I'm saying, we have this policy in place, and that's what it's gonna be.
For the record, was that vote 2-10?
Yeah, I'm still absolutely
Okay, so
against
it was
this.
2-1, or whatever, yeah, 2. Okay.
So-
And on the last one, we'll table that. Okay.
I do have one question though before we go into anything else. On the agenda, if under principal assessors report, it just says to be determined, and we're telling residents, you have to tell us per open meeting what's gonna be, what you wanna discuss, so that it can be on the agenda. Why are we not doing it then on the principal assessors report? There should be at least
I don't know,
some
Paula.
things
I
on
don't know.
there.
I have an answer for most stuff regarding the practices and methodology of assessing and appraising. I don't have an answer for that one.
But how can we hold the residents to a standard that we're not adhering to?
Well, I mean, everything's been good, on every one of the things you're bringing up issues, that's like, you know, a few minutes ago on our open meeting agenda, things have been going along just fine. So, you know, if you want to talk to John about this, the principal assessors, you know, what you want him to do about regarding advertising our meeting, that's fine.
Well, I brought it up before and
John?
nothing seems to get put on there.
May I just say, for the record, as you know, I'm also an elected member of the Board of Assessors at Town of Wareham. Our agendas state an identical item. We expect our principal assessor, or in her case, her title is Director of Assessors, to just tell us essentially what I tell you. These are dates, these are things that are coming up, these are things that I want to make you aware of. They're really not items for discussion or debate, they're informative. And, as you know.
And you do a good job of that.
And as you know, when the minutes are recorded, all of those announcements are part of the record.
They are, but so then what is the problem though with just, if you have them ahead of time, putting them on there when the agenda gets posted, usually the Friday before the meeting?
I'd say probably two things. Things happen right up until the day of the meeting that I'd like to report, that I'd like to leave open to be determined. And two, it's really just a matter of space. I try to keep the agenda to one page. I know other boards have 2-page agendas and 3-page agendas and so on and so forth. But if I listed all the items, then we get into 2 or 3 pages, when it can simply just be incorporated in the minutes at whenever you accept them at a later date.
I understand what you're saying about shrinking it to one page, but if we're gonna hold the residents to a standard, we should adhere to the same one.
I'm with him. The way you present the, you know, when you come down and read all the things that the informative part of it and such, it's been going along just fine. I have no problem with it.
I understand that you don't have a problem with it. I have concern with it because we're telling the residents, you have to adhere to open meeting law, but we just kind of go, we just put to be determined and we'll tell you when you get here.
John, what's next?
There are some warrants and bills payable on the table somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, they're right
The
here.
usual,
And what time do you have?
7:18.
I have a question on one.
Sure.
And it's really, this one, it's just for the colors. Is that, is that like 1,000 per month that we get or 1,000 a year? Per quarter. All right. So
And this is our first time with this new machine, so I've directed clerical staff, don't make any color copies on this machine whenever possible. Not to.
okay, no, I just didn't know what that was, if it was like a month, a year, how that was. Okay, no, that's fine.
That caught my attention too.
Yeah, no, just so I understood, because I know color, because it's even if you do one word in color. Oh, it's a color copy now. Yeah, and
Scan a
it,
document.
What do you got, John?
yeah, it can kill you.
So, other than that, I don't have any, I sent you a reminder for the minutes of, I don't recall.
Yeah, so just a couple
6-5.
Yeah, okay.
I think.
6-5.
I think it was 6-5.
So if you wanted to, you could approve those. It's been a while.
All right. I got about 5 minutes left here. I gotta be
Okay,
somewhere.
I can put those on the agenda for next week because.
Oh, yeah, whatever you want
Well,
to
or
do.
if you need to do something in executive session, then we probably should just go to that now, where you're on limited
I
time.
don't think we have much to do.
Okay, so I can put that on for the next agenda.
Yep.
So.
It's just, you know,
Got it. A motion would be in order to go into executive session, Mr. Chairman, for the purpose of reviewing applications for abatement exemption relative to purpose 7, Mass General Laws 59, Chapter 60,
10 in the morning.
and to review and discuss strategy of pending appellate tax court cases relative to purposes 3 and 7, Mass General Laws 59, 60, because to do so in open session could have a detrimental effect on the board's litigation position, and not to return to executive session.
Okay.
Excuse me, not to return to
Open session, yeah. You all set to go into that?
Gonna make a
Yeah,
motion.
and I'll make a motion to go into, well, I know that.
Yes,
I'll
sir.
make a motion to go into executive session for the matters that John just discussed, and we'll need a roll call for approval. Cecil Bunker?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes,
McCarthy, yes.
okay.
Hello?